James Dean's shocking gay secrets finally exposed in Scandalous Truth. Born James Byron Dean on February 8, 1931, in Marion, Indiana, his beginnings were far from the glitz and glamour that would later consume him. He was a farm boy, son of a dental technician, living a seemingly typical Midwestern life. But tragedy struck early. His mother, Mildred, the one person who truly understood and encouraged his artistic sensibilities, passed away from cancer when he was just 9 years old. This loss, some say, fractured something deep within him, leaving a wound that never truly healed. Unable or unwilling to care for young James, his father, Winton, sent him back to Indiana to live with his deeply religious Quaker aunt and uncle, Hortense and Marcus Winslow, on their farm near Fairmount. It was a stark contrast to the life he'd briefly known with his mother. The Winslows provided stability and a quiet, conservative upbringing, encouraging his participation in school activities like debate and drama. After graduating from high school, the pull of the West Coast and the promise of a life beyond farming proved irresistible. James Dean initially enrolled at Santa Monica College and later transferred to UCLA, majoring in drama. It was here that the fire for acting truly ignited. He landed a small, uncredited role in a film, a tiny taste of the world he desperately wanted to conquer. But Hollywood wasn't ready to hand him fame on a silver platter. Frustrated by the lack of significant opportunities in California and drawn to the burgeoning method acting scene, Dean made the pilgrimage to New York City in the early 1950s. It was a period of intense struggle. He lived in poverty, took odd jobs, washing dishes, parking cars, anything to survive while pursuing his craft. He immersed himself in the actor's studio, studying under the legendary Lee Strasberg, refining his unique, internal approach to performance. He believed in finding the raw truth within a character, a philosophy that often clashed with the polished, artificial world of mainstream entertainment. He landed some roles on television shows and small parts on Broadway. One notable early-stage appearance was in a play called The Immoralist, based on the novel by André Gide, a story dealing with suppressed homosexuality and moral conflict. While his role wasn't central to that theme, the play's very subject matter, and Dean's association with it at a time when he was exploring his own identity and sexuality, feels eerily prescient in retrospect. Despite critical praise for his stage work, widespread fame remained just out of reach. He was a talented, intense young man, but the doors of the movie industry seemed stubbornly closed. This period of struggle, desperation, and burning ambition would become the breeding ground for the choices and compromises that, some claim, defined his true path to stardom. The turning point arrived in the mid-1950s. Legendary director Elia Kazan was casting for his adaptation of John Steinbeck's epic novel, East of Eden. Kazan was looking for someone who embodied restlessness, vulnerability, and rebellion, someone who could portray the complex, tormented soul of Cal Trask. He saw something in James Dean. Landing the role of Cal in East of Eden was Dean's golden ticket. It was his first starring role in a major motion picture, and the world was captivated. His performance was electrifying, unlike anything audiences had seen before. The film was released in March 1955, and critical acclaim for Dean was immediate. He received a posthumous Academy Award nomination for Best Actor, the first ever in the Academy's history for a posthumous role. But the legend was truly cemented with Rebel Without a Cause, released just months later, in October 1955, shortly after his death. As Jim Stark, the archetypal disaffected teenager, Dean captured the zeitgeist of a generation grappling with conformity and searching for identity. The red jacket, the slumped posture, the anguished cry, it all became instantly iconic. His final film, Giant, released posthumously in 1956, saw him hold his own against titans like Elizabeth Taylor and Rock Hudson, earning him a second posthumous Oscar nomination. In a span of just over a year, with only 3 major film roles released, James Dean transformed from a struggling actor into a global phenomenon. a symbol of youthful alienation and cool defiance. He worked with esteemed directors like Kazan, Nicholas Ray, and George Stevens, and starred alongside the biggest names in Hollywood. He became the icon of his era. But as the world celebrated the birth of a legend, whispers began to circulate. Whispers about how this young man, seemingly out of nowhere, had ascended so rapidly, navigating the treacherous waters of Hollywood to reach unparalleled fame in such a short time. Whispers that suggested the path to the top involved more than just talent, that it involved deals made in the shadows, compromises whispered behind closed doors. James Dean's personal life, as presented to the public, was often portrayed as turbulent, marked by intense, fleeting relationships. The most publicized was his passionate, often stormy romance with Italian actress Pier Angeli. Their connection was electric, seemingly deep, but allegedly met with fierce opposition from Angeli's controlling mother, who disapproved of Dean's unconventional ways and Protestant faith. Their relationship ended dramatically, with Angeli marrying singer Vic Damone, a public event that reportedly devastated Dean. There were other rumored liaisons with famous actresses like Ursula Andress and, perhaps more significantly in terms of later accounts, with actress Liz Sheridan, who would later write a book detailing their brief but apparently genuine connection during his struggling days in New York. These public or semi-public relationships helped solidify his image as a brooding, sensitive ladies' man, adding to his enigmatic appeal. Dean cultivated an image of the restless outsider, often behaving erratically in public, playing up his anti-establishment persona. He was known for being difficult on set, unpredictable, and deeply complex. This public eccentricity was often seen as part of his rebellious charm, the mark of a true artist. However, those closer to him, or those who observed him within the inner circles of Hollywood, often noted a profound loneliness beneath the surface, a struggle for authentic connection. And more disturbingly, there were signs, subtle at first, then more persistent, that his life behind the scenes was starkly different from the image projected on screen and in fan magazines. Hollywood in the 1950s was a place of extreme pressure and rigid morality laws enforced by the studios and the Hays Code. Being openly homosexual was career suicide. Actors lived in constant fear of their private lives being exposed. Yet, it was also a place rife with hidden affairs, secret relationships, and a pervasive casting couch culture where opportunities were often traded for sexual favors. And it is within this secretive, morally ambiguous landscape that the most explosive claims about James Dean's life and his rapid rise to fame truly take root. Because according to shocking accounts that have emerged over the years, the path James Dean took to become an icon was not merely paved with talent and hard work, but with silent, binding, and potentially dark compromises. The truth, they say, involves powerful men, hidden arrangements, and a young actor willing to pay a steep, personal price. This is where the legend cracks open, revealing a secret that Hollywood desperately tried to keep buried forever. James Dean had relationships with women, but the whispers surrounding his sexuality, particularly about relationships with men, began early and never truly faded. Some biographers and acquaintances have suggested he was bisexual, while others claim his true romantic and sexual inclinations leaned heavily towards men, and that his relationships with women were, at times, either genuine but complicated, or even a form of camouflage necessary for survival in the homophobic industry of the 1950s. But the gay-for-pay and kept boy narratives go far beyond simply discussing his potential sexuality. They strike at the very heart of how he became famous, suggesting a transactional element to his rise. The backdrop for this is crucial. Old Hollywood was a system built on power and control. Studio heads were kings, dictating not just careers but the public image and private lives of their stars. Agents wielded immense influence, making or breaking careers with a phone call. And in this world, a young, ambitious, and potentially vulnerable talent like James Dean was a ripe target for exploitation. First is the kept boy allegation. This claim suggests Dean was financially and personally supported by one or more powerful, often older, figures in the industry in exchange for intimacy or companionship. The implication is a deliberate arrangement where wealth and influence were leveraged to control and maintain a young, promising actor. Who were these alleged keepers? The rumors often circulate around specific names, though confirmation is notoriously difficult. Powerful agents, wealthy independent producers, even studio executives have been mentioned in various scandalous accounts. While specific names tied directly to Dean in a verifiable kept relationship are scarce in mainstream, reputable histories, the type of person involved is consistent across the rumors. Men with significant financial and professional power who were known within insider circles to seek relationships with younger men. What did being kept entail? According to the whispers, it could involve lavish gifts, a place to live, far more luxurious than a struggling actor could afford, financial allowances, and perhaps most critically, access to people and opportunities. Imagine a young Dean, living hand-to-mouth in New York or struggling for auditions in LA, suddenly gaining introductions to top directors or getting callbacks for major roles after spending time with a wealthy benefactor. This was the alleged trade-off. It wasn't just transactional sex for a single role, it was potentially an ongoing arrangement providing stability and connections that leapfrogged him over equally talented peers. Sources of these claims. Much of this stems from controversial biographies published decades after Dean's death, relying on anecdotal evidence, alleged interviews with people who claim to know Dean intimately, or interpretations of letters and diaries. For example, some accounts, like those found in certain unsanitized or less reputable biographies, detail alleged encounters or living situations that point towards Dean being supported by powerful figures. These accounts, while often dismissed by mainstream historians, fuel the narrative within the Hollywood secrets genre. They describe Dean being seen at exclusive parties with much older, wealthy men, traveling in luxury, or having financial means that didn't seem to align with his actual income from sparse early roles. The second is the gay faux pas accusation. This is a more direct accusation that James Dean engaged in sexual acts specifically to land roles or advance his career. This ties into the broader, pervasive casting couch culture of old Hollywood, where sexual favors were openly demanded or offered in exchange for parts. In this narrative, Dean wasn't just kept. He was allegedly actively using his sexuality as a tool for career advancement. This could mean one-off encounters with casting directors, producers, or studio executives in exchange for a specific part. It paints a darker picture of a desperate young man navigating a ruthless industry, willing to exploit anyone for opportunity. Proponents of this theory often point to the speed and timing of Dean's breakthrough. How did a relatively unknown actor, albeit talented, suddenly leapfrog so many others to land leading roles with directors like Elia Kazan and Nicholas Ray? While talent undoubtedly played a massive role, the gay for pay narrative suggests that talent might have only gotten his foot in the door, but other, unspoken agreements opened it wide. It's the uncomfortable suggestion that perhaps Dean's intensity and vulnerability on screen were partly fueled by the complex reality of his off-screen life and the compromises he allegedly made. While linking Dean definitively to specific gay-for-pay encounters with named individuals is difficult and often based on highly questionable sources, the allegation is that powerful men who controlled casting and production were involved. These rumors thrive in the vacuum of concrete evidence, filling in the blanks with sensational possibilities. Accounts from the era, collected and amplified in later scandalous reports, describe a Hollywood underworld where such transactions were common practice. And Dean, with his striking looks and ambition, was a prime candidate for such propositions. If these allegations are true, what was the price Dean paid? The constant need for secrecy, the potential feeling of being exploited, the conflict between his public image and private reality. These pressures could have contributed to his documented erratic behavior, His restlessness, his struggle with intimacy, and his fast-paced, dangerous lifestyle. The narrative frames his intensity not just as artistic passion, but potentially as the outward manifestation of deep internal conflict caused by leading a double life and making profound compromises. Sources close to Dean at various points in his life show controversial biographers who dug deeper than the official story, and whispers that circulated within the studio system form the basis. These sources claim Dean was introduced to influential men who were known for seeking out young male companions. They allege that financial support or specific career opportunities followed these introductions. They describe scenarios that sound chillingly like the casting couch, but with a homosexual dynamic. Was Dean a victim, trapped by a system that demanded these compromises? Or did he make a calculated choice, prioritizing fame and opportunity over personal integrity? The narrative leans into the tragic figure, a young man perhaps initially exploited, then possibly adapting, feeling trapped by the gilded cage of fame built on a foundation of secrets. His intensity and vulnerability on screen are reframed as a reflection of this internal struggle. Why wasn't this widely known or confirmed at the time? The sheer power of the studio system. Contracts contained morality clauses allowing studios to fire stars for behavior deemed detrimental to their image, including homosexuality. Whistleblowers could be blacklisted. Those involved on the powerful side had every reason to keep secrets. Those allegedly involved on Dean's side were either bound by secrecy, benefited from the arrangement, or feared retaliation. And after his sudden death, Hollywood quickly cemented his image as the clean-cut icon, burying any inconvenient truths that might tarnish the lucrative legend. The heart of the drama lies in the chilling possibility that the enduring legend of James Dean, the symbol of defiant authenticity, is built, in part, on a foundation of secrets, exploitation, and dark deals made in the shadows of old Hollywood power. The truth unveiled here is the enduring, uncomfortable allegation that James Dean's fast track to immortality came at the cost of his true self, sold piece by piece in exchange for the spotlight. It's a brutal counter-narrative to the beloved myth. As James Dean reached the pinnacle of fame, his life seemed to accelerate, mirroring the fast cars he adored. He was simultaneously filming Giant, a demanding production that pushed him to his limits, and living the life of a burgeoning superstar. The pressures were immense, both from his work and the alleged complexities of his private life, the secrets he was supposedly keeping hidden. His passion for auto racing intensified. It was a dangerous outlet, a physical manifestation of the restless energy that seemed to consume him. He bought a Porsche 550 Spider, a sleek, fast, and notoriously difficult-to-handle sports car he nicknamed Little Bastard. Friends, including British actor Alec Guinness, reportedly felt a chilling premonition about the car. On September 30th, 1955, just weeks before Rebel Without a Cause was set to premiere nationwide and immortalize him, James Dean was driving his Porsche to a race in Salinas, California, accompanied by his mechanic, Rolf Wuderich, on U.S. Route 466, now State Route 46 near Cholumi, California. A 1950 Ford Tudor, driven by a 23-year-old college student, turned in front of Dean's speeding car while attempting to make a left turn. There was no time to react. The collision was catastrophic. James Dean died almost instantly from multiple injuries, trapped in the wreckage of his beloved car. He was just 24 years old. The news sent shockwaves across the nation and around the world. The sudden, violent end of the vibrant young actor, on the cusp of global superstardom, was almost too dramatic to comprehend. His death didn't just end a life, it solidified a legend. The rebellious icon was now eternally young, forever frozen at the height of his fame, his potential tragically unfulfilled. And with his death, many of the secrets he may have carried, the true extent of the compromises he may have made, were sealed, seemingly forever, adding another layer of mystery to his already enigmatic persona. James Dean remains one of Hollywood's most enduring and fascinating figures. His three major films continue to resonate with audiences, his image synonymous with youthful rebellion and timeless cool. He achieved a level of legendary status that few actors ever attain, amplified by his sudden, tragic demise. But the story doesn't end with the legend. The persistent claims, the unsettling whispers about his life behind the camera, the allegations of being a kept boy and gay for pay, continue to haunt his legacy. They serve as a stark reminder that the gleaming facade of Hollywood often hides a far darker, more complicated reality. His story, when viewed through the lens of these unsettling claims, becomes a tragic tale of ambition, compromise, and the immense pressure faced by those striving for fame in a system that demanded conformity while thriving on hidden indiscretions. While the definitive truth of James Dean's private life and the full extent of his alleged compromises may have died with him in that fiery crash, the stories, the rumors, the less than official accounts paint a picture that is undeniably compelling and deeply unsettling. They remind us that even the brightest stars can cast the longest, darkest shadows. And now, armed with these long-buried claims, we can look at the icon, the rebel, the legend, James Dean, and understand the price of immortality may have been paid in ways we never dared to imagine. The truth, in all its uncomfortable possibility, is finally laid bare.